Unbelievable. Some people pushing buttons at the wrong time. I had this big thing. We're going to see a blank screen there in a minute. Welcome everyone to Breed to Succeed. Nick Hooper joins me. Firstly, welcome Nick.
Paul, thanks for having us.
Thank you very much. And Catherine McIntosh, welcome again. Dr. Catherine McIntosh.
Thanks, Paul. I'm not on the screen there.
Oh, look at me go. And I'm pushing all the
We
buttons.
can see your
Hi,
elbow.
everyone.
There was too much cheek about the matchy uniform you guys had on that we weren't going to bring up in conversation.
Oh, well, look, sponsors product and all that. You know all about that, Paul.
I definitely do. Apologies to Kentucky Equine. They don't give me any hats or that. David Nash, if you're watching, don't be scared to send stuff my way. It's
That's
all
it.
good.
You'll wear it, won't you?
I'll wear anything. People know that.
You'll wear it out to a social occasion too.
Rightio, we're back for another year. After what was a great year we did last year, we had a little bit of issues with the COVID and changing things up, and it made it very difficult. Probably raise awareness, I suppose, for a platform that works really well to be able to interact with participants and be able to capture a different audience, I suppose, that you might not normally have caught. So just a quick, both of you guys' thoughts on last year and how you think it all went about the Breed to Succeed show.
Well, I think the fact that we got something underway was the main thing. Kath, HBV, it's been an idea at HBV for a few years, and it really took last year for us to get it off the ground. I know we had grand plans of all sorts of live events. They got taken off us, but we managed to get something out there, get the brand known, and now we can build on it and go to next year, or this year, sorry.
Yeah, that's it. And I think the 10 sessions last year worked awesome online given the circumstances, and this year hopefully we're bigger and better over the next few months.
And that's Kath's here. Myself and Nick are going to discuss, I suppose, an overview of what happened last year plus what's going to happen this year. But Kath, you're here as well because we are doing it again this year, but it's going to be in a different format, and I'll throw to you as we're going. But one, not as many episodes planned at the minute, but also a lot more. We want people back and to be able to mingle with people and capture people's attentions that way.
Yeah, I think in essence the breeding industry is a pretty tight-knit group of people, and as is the harness racing industry in general, and the ability to actually have some seminars where everyone can get together, have a good time, catch up, and also learn some information about what is essentially their common interest in breeding is extremely valuable. And by having, so this year we'll have 5 Breed to Succeed, options, 3 of which will be online in the same format as we had last year, and 2 will be seminars at Shepparton, which is on Monday, July the 26th.
I'll throw that slide up right now, Kath, for Shepparton, just so people can see that it is it's there and it's what's involved. But you can go through the guests as well. Yeah,
so starting at 6 o'clock on Monday the 26th of July at the Shepparton Harness Racing Track will be it's not only a seminar or information series, but we're also having a trade display or an expo, as you like, for a whole host of there'll be in excess of 20 different companies, which includes studs, feed and nutrition, other industries that are involved in the equine and harness racing. So other businesses rather involved in the industry, and so there's a whole host of people there that you can catch up with, talk to, learn a whole range of things, get some show bags, and there'll also be lots of lucky draw prizes. But the other biggest thing is we've got 2 internationally renowned veterinarians speaking, which is pretty amazing. So Dr. Jim Basey and Dr. Angus McKinnon, who have contributed so much to the veterinary industry and breeding in general over their careers. And so they'll be coming along talking about, foals, frozen semen advances, and, all things that can reduce waste and loss in our industry, which is critical. And then we're also going to have a panel of discussion talking about breeding resources and pedigrees, and that will be run by Nick, and just looking at, what do things mean, what works, what doesn't work, and just a few, actual case studies as well for pacing and trotting. So there's something there for everyone. And on top of that, given our support from Barristock and Kentucky Equine Research, as well as HRV, who have been very strong supporters of this, there will be, it's fully catered for. There'll be food and drinks for everyone, and plenty of it. So with that in mind, we need people to actually RSVP that they are coming, because we need to have numbers for catering purposes, and also, to be able to set up the area. We expect a massive turn up to this event, and I think it's going to be a great night, or great nights for everyone.
No, I just want to make sure people are aware. We've got a few people already tuned in and commenting, and some of the people that contributed to the show last year. Those 2 seminars will not be streamed. I will be there, and I will be recording on both of those. So we'll record them both, the Ballarat and the Shepparton one. They are designed for people to go, and that's what we want, is make sure people go. So they've got to go to Harness Breeders Vic, do the rest of it, because I didn't do the website. I'm in trouble for that.
That's all right. hbv.org.au/news, and when you get there, you'll see how to book, because you can't come if you don't book people. You've got to book yourself in. You can't decide to roll up at the last minute. We need that for catering purposes, so you must go through a booking process.
And I think what you'll learn at these, some people learn a lot. We've got Dot G's already on, and she's already made a comment there, and I'll get to Dot, and she's one of the great contributors, and people we'd never heard of, I suppose, before in the breeding scene, but they're very passionate and all the rest. Get along to these. You're going to be able to meet these guys in person. I am very, very scared. I am packing a swag because I'm worried about battery life, power, and the whole lot with yourself and Brett, and also Peter Judd is involved, and John Coffey, I believe, is the 4th person, and I'm fascinated about it.
Look, you should be fine. Ian McDonald said he'll kick us out at midnight if we're still going, so 6 hours should be enough, I would have thought.
Yeah, and actually, before Kath goes on, what else we actually do have going on, we've got to say a big thank you, one, to Bendigo Harness Racing Club, because we were going to be at Elizabeth McLean's, but the cold weather sort of scared us off a little bit, Nick. We were a little bit reluctant.
Well, given you and I are soft as marshmallow, this is the only place to be.
Andrew Soper and Rebecca Ham are going to be disgusted when they see us sitting in here nice and warm. I've even got short sleeves on after last year. But Shepparton and Bendigo, it's great that these harness racing clubs as well are getting behind it and supporting it as well. So that's also key.
Well, Shepparton's obviously covering the northeast of the state, and Ballarat, Kath, doing the south and west, if you like, so that because the 2 seminars will have a fair bit of similarity, so that we're getting people there, but people don't have to travel too far.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it. They can stay essentially within the zones that they would probably race and travel in. So.
Yep.
And look, the other big incentive for you all to come along, and this is pretty special, and we'd like to thank Woodland Stud for putting this forward, is that for those people who are members of Harness Breeders Victoria and who attend one of the Shepparton or Ballarat evenings, you can go in the draw to win one of 2 free services. So the first is to the pacing sire, and what an amazing sire he is in American Ideal. Service fee of $12,500 this year, and you can go into the draw to win one of these free services. And so that's for the pacers, and for those people who breed trotters, you can go into the draw to win a free service to Pastor Stephen, who will be standing in the flesh with myself this year. So a service fee worth $5,500, so that should be pretty good incentive for everyone to come along and join in.
Now, I think we need to note there that whilst the graphics got your current brand Northern Rivers Equine, you've got a new brand that will be coming out for your stud, which I think is worth mentioning.
So we should have a press release next week, but we're now the stud side of Northern Rivers Equine is now being rebranded as Lower Long Farms, and so all our stallions will be standing under that logo of Lower Long Farms. So we in Northern Rivers Equine Veterinary Clinics obviously still operating as normal on that side of things, but we've just to allow the growth of both businesses, we've split into Lower Long Farms.
I never thought I'd have another stud with 2 L's in Victoria.
It's actually got 3.
No, at the start though.
Oh,
Llewellyn and Lower Long. Yeah, so because Steve Dixon.
That's
double
close,
L.
yeah.
So you guys kill me. I don't talk that well. Spelling is even worse. So you just make it very, very hard. It's great. We've got quite a few people on, and we will get to the comments and the like. But I think it's exciting. I think doing both platforms is very, very exciting, and we've got lots going on. I think what you're doing behind the scenes, Kath, you've got a New Zealand content going there as well. So you're doing some really cool things. Pastor Stephen, I did actually allude to this, but the Kiwis are trying to tell me that he's Reverend Stephen, known as that overseas. But yeah, Cam Kirkwood, I'm not sure if I 100% believe him or not yet. So have we heard, is he swinging hands with anyone yet, Kath, or not?
I don't know.
It's all right, I'm trying.
You
I'm
embarrassed the
trying.
poor guy, Paul.
He won't answer me phone calls anymore.
Yeah,
I don't know
no
why. I don't
wonder.
know why that is. Right, yeah.
We're doing matchmaking on this now, are we?
Yeah.
It's a bit of Campbell's comment
Well,
side
it's
lurk.
called,
I can tell you.
it's called Breed to Succeed. You've taken it to another level.
Exactly. We might have to. Kath, I've got it. We've got 2 other seminars, and before I let you go off the stream, we haven't finalised exactly what we're going to do with both of those. I think you finalised the last one. It's just the naming of it where we're a little bit dubious about.
Yeah, so we've got 2 more online seminars. So essentially the last one will be about, all the things that go into that, little white box arriving on your doorstep to inseminate your mares. So that's...
Can I just say Desiree's put her head up from underneath the table now. She's happy with that.
Hello, Desiree.
There's been a few creative names thrown around, but so and then the second online seminar, we have a variety of topics that have been put forward, especially last year on the back of them. So just need to pick one that's the most suitable, and we'll get information out on that in due course. But obviously after today, the next big thing is Shepparton on the 26th of July, and so all our focus is on that at the moment.
And so people are aware too. That is on Monday.
So and just also remind you to please RSVP. If you are not a member and you wish to become a member, you can do that when you RSVP or make a booking, because we must know the numbers for catering and also for the setup of our room. We have quite a large trade display area, and we need to be able to fit everyone in. Yep. So please let us know.
So those things are key. Nick's going to rattle off how to get there again, but make sure you RSVP. So you're going, and then don't not turn up. If you're not going to turn up, make sure you notify people as well, because there'll be some people waiting to get in as well. So don't leave it to the last minute and then say I'm not going to come.
Look, we've got plenty of room at Shepparton. We can always grab Dallas Brooks Hall if we run out of space, but I'm sure that Macca at Shepparton will make sure that we've got plenty of room for everyone.
I reckon Macca knows what he's in for. I'm not sure how much Facebook he does. I reckon he's in for an experience, Macca.
Well, that could only be a good thing. I've never known Macca to not be able to roll with the punches and say it how it is. So,
rightio. We are going to go... one thing actually I want to say very quickly. That's a Monday night. Now, everyone's got to be aware of that as well. So it's a night after the Rothica. It is a Monday night. So when you're saying, what have I got on that weekend? It's not a weekend, it's a Monday night, which actually for horse racing people works in a lot better. We don't race night times, Monday nights. Yep. So it will fit in a lot better. It's not an excuse. Yep.
And it's the same with the Ballarat. It is a Monday night, Monday the 23rd of August. Yep, same good time. Yep.
So that is key, because it takes a little bit of planning, and I don't know what's on mainstream TV on Monday nights, but there can't be much. Collingwood people, they're going to be doing nothing about that time of year, so just looking at the footy scores over your shoulder. So, there'll be plenty going. Rightio, Kath will be back. Fire your questions in, please. Anyone that's got any questions at all for Kath, by all means, fire them in at the end of the show. We'll bring her back in and hopefully get back to some of those. Myself and Nick, we've got, I suppose, half serious stuff to get through, have we, Nick?
Well, we'll try and make it half serious and the other half not so serious. But
we will have definitely have a bit of fun. You've even got a desk there now. Have a look at you go.
Yep,
so
absolutely. We're laughing.
Kath alluded there before about some of the feedback. We'll just stay on the show and how it worked from the president's point of view last year. The want of what people, the information people wanted, must have astounded you a little bit off the show, because people wanted some very different things that really worked, including what yourself and Brett Coffey, that pedigree matching and how people go about matching up their pedigrees was a unique one that I don't think we expected as much talk back as what we got.
No, well, some things you can predict and you have a decent guess. Other things surprise you. And it was really good to get the feedback. We got a lot of live feedback from the shows themselves. And then the number of people who were watching online afterwards, quite often those videos got well over 1,000. In fact, some got over 2,000 views, I think, when checking last year. So they were really well received, and the feedback that we got was great. That's led to some of the things that we're going to do this year, and we won't cover everything, but the idea is that this will become something that is annual. We intend to repeat it, and we've got plans to make it even bigger and better in coming years. It's one step at a time. This year we're going to the live functions. We'll see how they go. We'll get the feedback on them from people who attend, what was good, what wasn't. and then go to the next step next year. So it's all about our desire to inform, educate and entertain, and make sure that our members and I suppose the wider industry are up to speed.
Absolutely, and these are for non-members. That's, I suppose, the one thing about being online. You don't have to be a member, but you should. And we want everyone to be a member. Make Harness Breeders Victoria, I suppose, more relevant is number one key. But also then be able to do more and more of these seminars, because once you can get that people backing you, then it becomes a lot easier. You've got quality vets. You've got Brett and them, like, they're going to be putting their time because they know that Harness Breeders Victoria are making a difference. They haven't tuned in yet. They may have. I don't know. The Johnson boys, from Wagga, they won a couple of the trophy prizes last year. We're getting a bigger reach. Campbell's Comments gets a bigger reach. The guys in New Zealand might be tuning into this, watching it. So there's nothing we can't do now to make people aware and get access to these experts. If you haven't seen last year's videos, go to, again, Harness Breeders,
hbv.org.au, and you're very easy to find your way once you're onto the website.
Yeah, and just go back and watch them all, and they're relevant. And if you have watched them last year and you want to refresh it, by all means, because like the guys like Barristock and Kentucky Equine, a couple of the things they did were really good, especially for this time of year. You've got to remember it's cold, it's miserable and wet, and they actually basically said about feeding horses for this time of year.
Yep, very much so. And if you're not aware, it's only $55 to be a member. It's not expensive, and so we try to keep it that way so that we can get as many people as part of the breeding fold as we can here in Victoria. And for those who are outside Victoria, we welcome you as well. Plenty of members of HBV don't live in Victoria.
No, and that part is key. Where are we starting with? Because my run sheet's over there. And
that's
it's gonna look
fine.
very
Well,
rude.
I've got my run sheet over here, so we're all good.
Positioning is everything with me.
That's right. There are two other things that we've got going on under our heading of information and education and entertainment. Last year, for the first time, we did Breeding Week on SEN Track,
That's right, yep.
which is the relatively new radio station that I'm sure most people are aware of, SEN Track. Jason Bonington heads that with a cast of others. July the 12th, for the week of July the 12th, so it's only not too far away, we'll have Breeding Week again. Jess Tubbs has been doing a great job working with Bonners to get that up and going. So 11 till 1 on each day of the week. The Monday and the Friday of their show is focused on the Metro racing that was and the Metro racing that's going to be, but there's going to be a breeding slant to that in terms of who the runners are. And the Tuesday, Wednesday and the Thursday will have interviews with a wide range of people on breeding matters to, again, inform and educate people via the radio. That, again, like last year, is recorded and people can come back to that. So another really good way of using the radio show is a great medium, and thanks to SEN and also HRV for their support in getting that up and running.
And if you're not in Victoria, can't get it on your dial on your radio, download the app. They have their own app that you can download, or it's on all the TuneIn radio apps and the likes, so you can get it there as well. Before we go to the next subject, as a harness purist, the information that's happened through COVID basically has changed the way it goes. The way people now can get their information. Once upon a time, it was basically Trot Weekly, and when the Trot Weekly started getting thinner and thinner, everyone was like, oh, what are we going to do now? Harness, like there's 4 or 5 websites now that are devoted purely to harness racing. We've got radio stations, we've got 927 as well, like Gareth Hall does a great job as well. We've got all these other way, it's sensational. Trot's Vision, we mustn't forget Trot's Vision as well. So it's great the way that people can now gain that information.
It is, maybe less of the written word perhaps, but yes, the various media options are just exploding, and to think back with your Campbell's Comments platform in its infancy 12-15 months ago, and now look at you, where people can't see the setup here, but feel as I'm at Channel 9 studios. It's that good. Everyone can see both of our wrinkles. It's not good.
I haven't got any. I have to actually say, the person sitting over the other side, she was a big influence on that. She actually made me do it, and I'm wrapped, and I just enjoy it, and I think we're in a very fortunate position that we can get this information out to people. I love breeding as well, and I think that's one of the key things, as you do, CAF does, and everyone else I think involved with Harness Breeders Victoria. I don't think there's one person that's trying to hold the industry back, which is key.
No, that's right. The other thing that's under production at the moment is the Stallion Guide, much to look forward to. Morris Hanrahan's taken control of that this year, our treasurer. Morris is doing a great job That looks like being bigger and better than perhaps any of the previous versions. That'll come out at the very start of August, so that's all being finalised now. Go to the printers at the back end of July and then be out to everyone hopefully early August is the plan. So look out for that one. But we're going to add stuff to that this year, and we're looking to add to it going forward so that we can keep up the healthy competition with our friends in New Zealand who do a great job with their stallion guide.
Yeah, and I think I've been privy to a couple of what you have got working on behind the scenes, and I think it's great. And I think, again, it's just another way of changing what we do and forward thinking, which is key. You've got a very young committee, and I think they think laterally as well as want to go forward. They think sideways, make sure they can get it that way. So
Terry Lewis and Les Joslin will be very pleased to hear that.
Terry, at least
one
thing, Terry, if he was up here, we wouldn't have to worry about wrinkles. So Terry has us both covered. There's no problem.
Very good, excellent.
I don't know if he's watching. Rightio. So they're some of the media parts. A lot else happened in the year. We'll bring up the probably the interesting one, I suppose. First was the stallion levy, and the introduction that was going to happen with that, and it didn't happen. As the president, Harness Breeders Victoria, how did you see it playing out, and as it's come to be now, are you happy with the resolve?
Well, the result at the moment is that it's just not going ahead for this breeding season. It hasn't been completely taken off the table by HRA. The HRA, with their decision of a few weeks ago, are intending to come out and consult further with the industry across Australia to talk about a raft of aspects to it. So I can't say that it's dead. It's still a possibility. But I think we were very pleased that HRA did make that decision quickly after the end of the consultation period, because that was critical to getting this stud season up and going. There were so many stallion announcements and deals that needed to be done that if you don't know exactly what commercial terms to set, you just simply can't proceed. So firstly, thanks to HRA for making that decision quickly to allow this season to keep on rolling. Exactly where it heads, our submission, we were very clear on that we weren't supportive of what they were trying to do. We were supportive of a number of their objectives. Their objectives to support locally based, locally bred stallions, tick. Ways of generating money to generate more prize money for races, whatever that means, tick. I mean, those things I don't think anyone can object to. It was just the mechanisms that they were looking to use that our members, well over 90% of them, said not a fan of, and so our submission went in line with our members' feedback, and thankfully HRA have listened to this point in time, and we look forward to engaging with them in this next phase.
So if you're not a member of Harness Breeders Victoria, that's number one reason you should be, because it clearly, like you said, 90%, but it's the volume of numbers and the people that have an opinion. And if you only got one horse, you're still entitled to that opinion, and you're allowed to put it out. And there was a lot of toing and froing, and I think definitely from my point of view, I think you always should consult first and then go from there. But
yep.
I mean, it's hard because you've got a business to run. People have a business to run. Local stallions or Australian bred stallions, and the bonus. They were trying to promote them and help them along. Harness Breeders Victoria and Harness Racing Victoria got together and introduced a new, I suppose, I forget the word. It's actually just left me. But
Vic Bred Pure.
Thank you very much. And a payout, and effectively at the end of the day, the Vic Bred has increased for the bottom line. It's gone from a $7,000 bonus next season. It won't be this season.
It's for foals that will hit the ground in the coming season. Yes,
so it won't actually come into place until for another 2 years. Mm-hmm. But the basic package is 8,000, up 1,000 from 7. So that in itself, you'd have to be very happy with.
Absolutely. So you've got 3 different grades. You've got what we call basic, which are for a mare that's situated outside Victoria but bred to a stallion standing in Victoria. That's 8,000 for the first win. For a mare inside Victoria bred to any stallion other than our subset. No, it's anywhere, is the 9,000.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's a mare-based thing. So if your mare is in Victoria, doesn't matter who she's bred to, she qualifies. The foal qualifies for the 9.
So, but I could go to a stallion in Queensland because I mean,
Yes,
they're
you
trying
could, but the mare has to be here.
yeah, as long as
Because it's Vicbred is a
unless Marie
mare-based
kicks me out, the mare will still be here. But there's a chance Marie will kick me out.
I'm tipping that the mare will still be here even if you do get kicked out. So I think you're safe.
You're
all right.
right.
Hello, Marie.
I think you're right.
So, and then we've got Vicbred Pure, which is for a mare in Victoria, bred to a stallion who stands in Victoria, who is bred in Australia or New Zealand, and that's a $12,000 bonus. So, that's what was the aim of that? Just to go over that again, it was to give our locally bred horses a better chance of success at stud, but it was also to give our breeders, especially our smaller breeders, who often go to our locally bred stallions because they, generally speaking, sit in the under $5,000 category as a rule, a really good chance of getting a return on their investment. In other words, you can go to a stallion that might be worth $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 service fee, and I know that there are costs between the service fee and getting to the races, but if you do so, you know that there's 12 grand sitting at the end of the rainbow, plus the race that you win. And tied in with all of this were the Vicbred maidens, the Vicbred Platinum maidens that HRV brought in, that we worked with them. Not only do we have Humbletonian Day with about 10 of them worth $10,000, they programmed another 45 or 48 of them. And to Stephen Bell's credit at HRV, when they've had nominations of 16 or more, they've been splitting them and running 2 of them on the program. So not only going forward might you win a Vicbred maiden worth 10 grand, you could have a $12,000 bonus. All of a sudden, you're starting to look at the best part of 20 grand coming in, into your back pocket with that first win, which we hope is something that incentivises people to say it's worth my while breeding the mare. It incentivises them to breed to our locally bred stallions, and therefore hopefully provides a greater kick along for the whole breeding industry. We saw some evidence of that in the last season, where for the first time we got an uptick in the number of mares served across the country, and that was exciting.
It was, and we will go to that in a second. Is potentially a concern, number of mares that get bred, that we may not get as many quality horses coming from overseas to stand if we centre it all that way? Is that a little bit of a concern?
Is that a little bit of a concern? I don't know. The market will determine that. I think the cost of shuttling stallions and bringing stallions out here is not getting cheaper.
No.
And there is a possibility that as time goes on, we may end up with a market that is focused on frozen semen and stallions standing here, and the majority of them may well be locally bred. But we know that they will be more commercial, because if we have the chance to breed to the best stallions in the world and their sons are standing here having been bred here, then I think that they become more likely to be commercial and that the quality doesn't drop. So I think we're seeing that especially with the trotters, as we've had access to the best stallions out of North America and Europe, that the quality of our trotters has continued to improve. We're layering the best blood over now probably 2 or 3 generations. You go another generation or 2 further forward, our best locally bred horses are going to be the equal of those that might come from overseas. So the market will sort itself out. There'll still be a significant demand for the best stallions out of North America, the best stallions out of Europe. So I don't think that'll be a significant issue.
Just while we're still on the stallions, and like Alabar, Harass to Trotter, Woodlands now making a fair input here into Australia as well. What the quality that people are bringing in now is sensational, and like we go to the trotters, Elephant in the Room, Pat's Harass to Trotter, what he's able to bring to Australian shores is sensational. That one, as a trotting purist and a person, you showed me your laptop, your tablet there before, and you've got a horse that you bred years ago. Like, you love breeding them, but being able to breed to some bloodlines that we could only ever dream of, I reckon, seeing here in Australia, it's sensational, isn't it?
It's amazing when you can see I don't know. I mean, the small boy in me still loves seeing horses like Bold Eagle, and I watched FaceTime Bourbon, the other night, obliterate a field at Vincennes, and the fact that Pat has been able to get the Bold Eagle seaman out here, Brilliantissimi, we see how good he is just with Hopeful Beauty and the way that she's going, a daughter of Brilliantissimi. It's just amazing. It is. You go back 5 years ago, 10 years ago, it just simply wasn't possible. So very exciting.
And the other part, and this is a New Zealand one, but On Saint Laterre is a horse that he gets out here from France that probably 5-6 years ago people would have said, oh, he obviously wasn't good enough. Yet he actually broke down. Yet people know his bloodlines. They went to the sales. They sold at the sales this year quite good, and he stands in the South Island of New Zealand at the minute. But that then gives those horses a little bit more credence, because if Pat can bring out Bold Eagle, why does he bring out On Solitaire? Well, he's got him out here, but there's a reason for it, because he is a quality horse that legitimately broke down and wasn't able to race. And anyone that doesn't understand French, the way that works over there, if they haven't won a stakes race, they can't stand at stud. It's that simple.
Look, I know that this isn't all about Pat and his roster, but the great example is a stallion like Used to Me, who stands here now. He's only 2,500 or thereabouts, and he's getting high class winners. So you don't have to, you don't have to be at the Bold Eagle price tag to see that some of the French blood is exceptional, and especially as they're maturing, you're seeing a lot of the good quality trots. If you have a look at the breeding of them, many of them are by the French stallions. So they are high quality, and when we can get access to the top of the tree out of Europe, it's exciting.
It is very exciting, and I actually love it. I think there's a lot that you could do, and you and I could talk trotters and breeding, and people would go to sleep and they'd say, oh, they're still going. They're actually still going. Even Kath's over there ready to go to sleep with us. Mare numbers and the number of foals bred last season, I believe, was up. I'm hoping you've got the official figures.
I can make up a number and sound convincing, and you would know that's right.
Bit of difference.
It's well over 5,000.
Which is huge, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It was, I think, we've been in free fall for a long time, and so to get an uptick was a great relief to everybody. The trick is to naturally continue that because there's no point having an uptick and then all of a sudden the numbers drop again. I think, therefore, we're all a little bit nervous to see what this season brings. I don't think there's any reason for alarm. I don't think there's any reason for concern. The industry is in pretty good order at the moment. There are plenty of things that can improve. The economy is now recovering, and we've had plenty of rain, so the cost of feed, to the best of my knowledge, is not too bad compared to what it has been in drought years. So a lot of those things are externalities that impact whether people breed or not. So hopefully with the raft of things that are in place, that there's still enough incentive for people to pull that mare out of the paddock and give her another go. And if if they did it last year and foals healthily this year, put her back in foal again, there's plenty of reward there for them.
And that's what the Breed to Succeed's trying to do. A lot of the other seminars we did last year were about making sure that you maximised that foal that was born, whether it's to a $500 service fee or a $50,000 service fee, to make sure you get straight legs and everything else conformed. And that's the one thing I do a lot more with breeders now, and that's the one thing they all aim to do, is get straight legs, straight conformation, and then if you like that bloodlines, you're going to buy it.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And that's the way to go.
Yep.
With the mare's numbers, trotting numbers, were they up at all? Because I was surprised that we don't breed that many trotters in Victoria, although the numbers, by the looks of the way you were nodding, are up.
Yeah, look, they are, and that's trotting continues to grow year on year, and pacing has been the bigger issue, keeping the pacing numbers up across the country, and I think that's an important thing that we do arrest that decline, and last year did that to a strong degree. So we need the pacing breeders to pull that mare out of their paddock, and they've got plenty of great choices available to them.
It was one of those ones I never understood why Duncan McPherson had Sky Valley so cheap, and Pat had Used to Me, but that was pretty much it, because it wasn't the amount of mares there to breed, so they needed to sort of try and incentivise it and get it going that way. So it's actually key that they are on the improve. Right, so with breeding numbers going up, new player came to the field last year in Nutrien to enter the sales ring. APG had a bumper year. It was an unusual year last year. Like, feed prices dropped. Everything, we had mares and foals going up, or more foals getting, more mares getting in foals, sorry, and the likes through COVID. Everyone was locked down. I think everyone's like, oh, we better do something. So they did heaps. But the sales and the sales results, one from a person very high up at Harness Racing Victoria, you must have been stoked with how both sales went, and also now this competition that's really sparked.
No doubt. There's healthy competition was the best thing that came to this year's yearling sales. We saw that through the back end of 2020 as the two companies were jockeying for position and getting in early. We saw APG, I think, really improve a lot of their operations, and Nutrien came through in April and really set another standard for APG to have a look at and continue to build towards. So I think that was really good. The results were quite amazingly almost identical, which I think was good, because I wasn't worried that one or the other was going to have a much bigger result than the other, but I was pleased that they were comparable, because it meant that buyers and sellers were playing in the same market. I think where the APG APTS sale gets an advantage is being early in the season. It gets first crack at the money. The yearlings probably aren't quite as physically advanced as they are a couple of months later when Nutrien hit the market. But yep. The problem for Nutrien is that they're at the back end of the season and they've got to wait until all of the other sales have gone through. We know that Nutrien, when they first hit the market, were only going to run a sale in Melbourne and then a sale in Sydney, but they've announced that they've going to split that, and they'll have a sale in both cities in 2022. Yep. So I think that's really exciting, because it gives our Victorian breeders choice. It gives that's something we've rarely had in Victoria, and I think it's important.
And so by having the choice, you then make companies like Nutrien, and I'll put my hand up, they are a sponsor at Campbell's Comments, there's not a worry there, but they had to change. So they were going to say Melbourne one year, Sydney the next. They already saw that if we stick to that, they listen to people in Victoria, so they have to change. Which then forces APG to change and do what people are after, but also makes them think on their feet and change it up. With that, bought online sales. Now, online sales have been around for a long time. APG have done them. Nutrien done theirs. It half worked, half didn't work. Depending on who you talk to, it did work. But it's exciting. I mean, you listen to the thoroughbreds, you listen to 927 and the thoroughbreds, there's an online sale every other week, and people being able to move horses and move them to respectable places and off respectable platforms. I think that's key as well, that if you breed a horse and all of a sudden you fall on hardship, you don't want to just, what do I do? You've got an avenue now, and by both companies saying, right, we've got to lift our game, that's exciting as well.
Absolutely, and Nutrien have already run their winter woolly sale. APG have got theirs coming up. I was going to say within days, and I believe that Macca at Shepparton is running a sale as well that I don't have any of the details on, but it is good. And again, you and I've talked about this before, perhaps in these forums, that COVID has accelerated people's acceptance of online media as being a legitimate way to buy and sell horses. It's still, people are still gaining confidence, but we've all been forced to do it. We're all in lockdown. Not everyone operates off Zoom, but people are operating off Zoom and Teams and regularly now. It's become part of life, and so I think that acceleration has really assisted the thoroughbred and standardbred market, and I think that it will continue to grow as people realise that this is a genuine way to buy and sell.
And it is, and that's I think a lot of people have probably been a little bit frustrated for years. We're not getting into the politics of either company and the likes, but I just think the fact that there is that competition actually sparks it up, and it drives people, and again gets back to the radio stations and the likes too. They keep trying to bring different products going forward. Yep. And the likes, and then from the yearling sales back to this show, listening to Andrew Soper and Rebecca Ham last year when they were talking about getting your yearlings ready and getting them ready for the sales, because now there is that competition. Other people are now saying, right, we have to lift our game as well. It's not just now a matter of pulling them out 2 weeks before the sale and taking them there and think we're going to make $1, because there's a lot more competition. There is a lot more eyes on us. And by that, then that means you've got to lift your game as to how you sell them.
Yeah, there's no doubt. A lot of anecdotal commentary from a range of people at both of the main sales about the quality of the presentation of all of the yearlings. So the bar continues to get lifted. I think we'd all like the average price for a yearling to be up around 40 grand for those that are selling, but it's small steps, and I think positive steps were taken in 2021.
I agree, and it's very exciting when they get those high price ones at both sales. It's just exciting for the industry. I think it's it's terrific, and Alabar, they're a contributor with the they've got the stall and everything. Purchasing that trotter, it's just groundbreaking for Australia. So
that's right,
that
very much so. Yep.
In my head, my run sheet, I think I've.
Well,
have I covered everything or not?
We're doing not doing too bad. What else have we got here? The change of season. We're obviously
we missed that one.
Change of season. Obviously, the first time that we're now going calendar year. I think that Stephen Bell and his crew have done a pretty good job in translating the year's racing as it was into the new setup. I've got no doubt that there'll be certain races that they'll find in the wrong slot and didn't quite work. But that's always going to be the case as you sort of bed down something and sort of see what works for the owners and the trainers and the various age groups and different types of horses.
And I think sponsors will be looking at it very differently as well. Like we watched the Matriarch Stakes the other night for the trotters, and I think poor old Pat, he actually ran sixth in it, got beat 3 metres, less than half a length. He got beat in it and didn't even get to weigh in with I'm set to go, but. In the middle of winter, normally that race would have been just caught up with Vicbreds and Breeders' Crowns and all these other talks, and half those horses might have been aimed at those races. It was a super exciting race, middle of winter. But now, from Harness Racing Victoria's point of view, to be able to sell that next year, it's got to be a much more easy marketable. Anyone from the sales companies to Kath and everything else like that. Fancy people not being able to hear me, Kath.
Yeah, look, you're right. And that mares race, I don't know whether people have noticed, but each week on the Metropolitan program, there has been at least one Metropolitan mares race now for a number of weeks, and it's continuing for a number of weeks. And that was a strategic decision that was taken by Stephen Bell and Dale Brown in consultation with a number of people, including HBV, where when we were looking at the programming for the year, we always knew that the back end of the year was going to be where a lot of the major futurities were. We knew that in the first few months where you've got the better weather, you can get quite a few good races away. What were we going to do with the winter? And the view was put forward that it should be basically become a significant time for the mares to race, simply so that they can get a little bit of prize money up. We hope that they continue to race, but if they don't, then hopefully they've picked up a decent check that they can then take off to stud when they perhaps retire at the end of winter. It fills in the programming, and I think that what we're seeing is that it gives the mares a little bit of time in the spotlight. Very hard for the mares racing to get time in the spotlight with with whether it's country cups or juveniles or whatever it is. So I think it's worked really well, and I'd like to continue to work with Belly and Brownie and the crew there to have a good look at it and see what we can make even better next year.
The one I found through doing Trot's Vision and the likes that really worked was the APG. I was fortunate enough to be here for the 3-year-olds, and then at Kilmore, and Kilmore was quite a unique one because it was a cool night at Kilmore, which they can get, but the weather was still okay.
If it's cool at Kilmore, that's warm, isn't it?
It is.
Hello to Kilmore.
Hello, Benny. Ben's a big man. Don't upset Benny, I tell you. But that night I was there, and to watch the crowd dispersed out of the Tabaret. Ben had a huge crowd of people there to watch a filly like Tough Tilly, leading into wintertime. Again, she may not have gone there. Like, it was just a ripping race, and there would have been 100 people along the fence line in a winter day to watch that. These are time slots that no one probably would have wanted. I would imagine APG might have reluctantly said, we've got to have it now because they missed out the year before because of COVID. They didn't run it, so they may have took. But gee, I reckon it's prime time, like leading into winter. It's a bit like the Jewels in New Zealand, because there's nothing else on. All the good horses are going to go to those. Then they can still have the winter break.
Yep.
So it really does work.
Yep. And look, we know that Queensland running their winter carnival are always going to attract the best horses, but that becomes opportunities for other grades of horses, and And so yes, whether it's your APG, for example, or the mares or whatever, to have some really good racing opportunities.
Yep, and I mean, I'm sure Queensland are probably watching a lot of the mares trotters that we got going around, and they probably want to get them there. Well, we did see Pink Galahs last night.
How good did Pink Galahs go?
And that's another great thing about our season and how it worked last year. Because everything got condensed, all of a sudden, Maddie throws a 3-year-old filly into a Grand Prix race and and wins. But just to even try it, I'm sure now the likes of Andy Gaff, Anton Galino, these guys with the trotters are probably looking at it and probably thinking the same thing. They say, well, let's have a crack at it next year and see if we can do it.
Yep, well, exactly right. So I think they've got, as I say, across the country, most things right in the programming. There'll be some things that'll get it readjusted next year and probably the year after that as all things settle down. But HRV do a very good job in consulting on these things, asking the question. They asked us to put in a prize money submission. In fact, they asked all the kindred bodies because they're looking at how they do distribute their prize money. Believe that there'll be some announcements going forward out of HRV on some of these things shortly. They've got strategic plan type things that they're going to be announcing as well. So I think it's going to be an exciting time here, and I'll say nothing more than that and leave it to Dale Brown and Dale Monteith to do their bit. But I think there's some really good things coming up and a lot for the industry to look forward to.
That is a shocking tease. He can't do that. You've actually said that there's stuff there and you're not going to give it to me. No scoop.
No scoop.
I actually was... you were talking...
I'll give you a scoop. I'll give you the scoop. I'll give you one scoop because it's already started to happen.
Well, it's not a scoop then.
Well, but I don't think too many people know about it. Or if they know about it, it hasn't really been announced. So I don't think it's a problem that I say it here. And that's...
Talk about a long-winded answer.
Well, yeah, I'm good at them. So the number of $4,500 races has significantly reduced. The number of $7,000 in their place and then $10,000 and also $20,000 races has gone up. There wasn't an announcement from HRV that was actually occurring.
No, they've just let it happen.
They've let it happen. And why has it happened? Because the turnover on the sport has really done well through last year and into the first part of this year. That allows for a little more cash to flow through. And so people will be noticing that instead of there being, a few years ago, we were lucky to get 5 Metro class races on a Metro program. We're now getting 7, 8 and 9 on most Metro programs. And the number of $4,500 races has dropped off. So at that lower end, that money has come through. And so that's already started happening. And if people weren't aware of it, I'm sure that if they think about it, they'll realise that it's true, because all you got to do is look through the program and there just aren't the 4.5s anymore.
There's plenty of negative people out there that think they still exist, but you just knocked them out of the park, and I agree with you. And the facts,
that's right.
The facts are there. Rightio, I don't want you to preempt what's going on. You got one wish list when we come back at this time next year to do this. What would you like to see from the Harness Breeders Victoria point of view?
Well, I think we want to see increases in prize money. We need to see the prize money increasing, and it needs to be, from our perspective, in races that benefit our members. It needs to be support for the mares, and it needs to be support for the juveniles. Now, that's our perspective on things, because they're the things that generate breeding activity and make it easier for our members to do what they need to do, which is provide the product that we all enjoy. Supporting the mares. So what HRV have done this year by putting these mares races on the Metro program, I want to see that 12 months of the year. I just don't want that to be in the middle of winter. There should be a metropolitan mares race on every metropolitan program for 52 weeks of the year, and then when we get to winter, there should be some elevated prize money races so that we're getting money into the mares. The mares simply do not get enough, and some assessment we did of that shows that the mares are lacking. The other thing I think is the 4-year-olds just simply don't. There's nothing for the 4-year-olds. There's the Bonanza, there's the Gold Chalice for the Pacers. The Trotters have no races for 4-year-olds outside the Breeders' Crown and the Vic Bred. You've got the Matriarch, which is for 4 and 5-year-old mares. The boys get nothing, absolutely nothing. The 4-year-olds need to be looked after a little better, in my view. The analysis that we did showed a massive gap there. I think there's a number of races that Is it possible for us to record questions and then, Because if we've got questions, you and I can record them, and then when you put it up.
Yeah, we can do that. We can just record it and I can edit it up and do it that way. Because that's telling me that you don't have a strong enough stream anyway, Nick.
You're referring to my
What the hell?
There wasn't really that many questions.
Oh, weren't there?
But there was like one guy commented about Big Fred and then how they didn't know about it and how, someone told them it's the best thing they've done and so I think there'll be information from HRB. We're going to do up a brochure about the future.
Yep.